Work hard, play hard, homeboy, everybody ain't calling out. Got a mouthpiece from the southeast, if you want scrap, stall him out. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then I feel good, man, I'm balling out. I'm a rich man with a rich fam, Christ bars got me out of mama house. And I bless God, give thanks. Bless God, give thanks. Bless God, give thanks. Bless God, give thanks. Big God, big grace. Big God, big grace. Big God, big grace. Big God, big grace. Bless God, give thanks. Bless God, give thanks. Bless God, give thanks. Bless God, give thanks. Big God, big grace.
What it do, y'all? It's your partner looking old, so fresh, cold, clean. You see that thing, baby, looking so fresh, cold, clean. Take that damn picture for your mama then. Now let's move forward, y'all. Welcome to another edition of the Countermove podcast, where we look at situations, whether it be economically or in our society, kind of lean in, reason together, and come up and prescribe the right solutions, guys. And today, guys, we're going to talk about a pretty nice little topic, guys. This is going to be, we're going to be talking about the Trump indictment situation. Now, I always say this up front, guys. If you're looking for a debate, they had the show for you. Go and hit that X button and go on about your business. But if you want to sit down and lean in and reason together, guys, let's lean in. Let's see what's going on. Now, this has been all over the news for a long period of time, this whole Trump situation. Some people have been for him to get arrested. Some have said, no, he's innocent. Well, we're going to look at and see what's going on and see what's really going down in this thing, guys. And let me know in the chat or what you think it may be, guys. So now, if you could, before we get started, click on that like button and share, guys, to help us with the algorithm, guys. Let's get into this, guys. Now, here's my question to everybody that's watching. Is this a political situation or is it really a legal situation? Okay, this is the New York Trump indictment situation. Is it political or legal? Well, guys, let's dive into this thing, guys. Well, Trump's defense attorney actually went on in the MSNBC, and Ari, I think his name was Fleischer. He actually interviewed him. And guys, I think it's wise for us to sit down and listen to this. It was a pretty good exchange, guys. Let's look at what was going down real quick, guys. Lean in real fast and see exactly what went on. This is Trump's literal attorney that's actually arguing this before the district attorney. Let's see what actually happened. Here we go.
Trump defense lawyer Joe Tacopina. Thank you for being here and taking the questions.
Thanks, Ari.
Let's start looking at this case. You have these payments. You don't deny that Trump made this payment.
No, payments were made, obviously.
Right. Is Stormy Daniels...
I call them extortionate payments, of course.
We'll get into it, right?
Yeah.
So the payments are made. Is Stormy Daniels a lawyer?
Is Stormy Daniels a lawyer?
Yeah.
A lawyer?
Yeah, is Stormy Daniels a lawyer?
I thought you were asking, is she a liar? Is she a lawyer? I don't think she's a lawyer. I don't think her lawyer was a lawyer either, but...
That's kind of a strange question to ask if Stormy Daniels was a lawyer, but let's keep going.
Well,
Stormy Daniels is not a lawyer.
So she's not a lawyer, and these payments were made, and they were, according to federal filings, classified on the Trump side as legal services.
Okay.
That was false, wasn't it?
The payments were made to a lawyer, not to Stormy Daniels. The payments were made to Donald Trump's lawyer, which would be considered legal fees.
That is correct. That's actually correct. Whenever someone makes a payment to an attorney, that's considered legal fees. Let's keep going.
Cohen, regardless of what we all know about him now, and hindsight is 2020.
Sure.
Is a fraud, is a liar, a convicted perjurer.
Okay.
In the Trump world and outside the Trump world with the medallions and all that stuff. Was his lawyer at the time and advised him that this was the proper way to do this to protect himself and his family from embarrassment. It's as simple as that.
So Trump was advised by his attorney, which is Michael Cohen, that this was the wise thing to do. Okay, let's keep going.
And that money, though, just to be clear on this point, did go to Stormy Daniels, so it wasn't legal fees, it was a payment.
No, went to Stormy Daniels first from Cohen. This was how Michael Cohen structured this, by the way, okay?
So it went to Stormy Daniels out of Michael Cohen's pocket, and Trump paid his attorney based on the counsel of his legal counsel, which is his attorney, Michael Cohen. Keep going.
It went to Stormy Daniels from Michael Cohen. He decided he was going to do it this way and asked for the reimbursement of what he billed as legal fees. That is not a crime. It's not a crime, and more importantly...
Well, I didn't, hold on, because we're doing this with piece-by-piece evidence.
Okay.
I didn't say or ask if it was a crime. I'm just trying to get the pieces in place.
Okay.
You seem to be putting forward a defense that's the kind we've heard from Trump before, that, well, other people are just doing these things, so he's not in on it.
It's not other people, it's his lawyer who was advising him
his lawyer at the time.
how to structure a settlement.
How to structure,
settlement.
yeah. And so let's take a listen. I actually want to jump ahead to something we have. This is a Trump-Cohen recording, where you have Trump in the room informed about the nature of some of these payments. Let's listen to this audio recording.
Okay.
I need to open up a company for the transfer of all of that info regarding our friend David. I spoke to Alan about it when it comes time for the financing, which will be...
Listen, what financing?
We'll have to pay you. So,
pay the cash.
No.
When Donald Trump's talking to Mr. Cohen, as you say at the time, his lawyer, and is engaged.
Now, also, President Trump was not aware, I believe, that Michael Cohen was actually recording at the time. That's okay, because New York City is a one-party consent state, I believe. It may not have been an ethical thing to do, but from a legality standpoint, it was legal.
Engaged and is saying yes and pay with cash. That doesn't sound like
cash. It means instead of financing the payment over months or years.
Right, but
write a check.
Okay. Yeah. That doesn't sound like someone who has a lawyer who's gone rogue. It sounds like someone who is using this lawyer to send the money to Daniels. And the problem potentially for your client in New York is whether this was misclassified, aka illegally written down as something it wasn't, as a payment for legal services.
What would be illegal about it?
Good question.
Well, I could show you. I know you like to ask questions.
What would be illegal about it?
Here's what he was called in the federal case, individual one. Those were the Cohen charges. And you refer to that to say that that was bad for Michael Cohen.
That was campaign finance law violations, right?
Right. And here is
something that the federal government chose not to bring against
Trump.
Well, as you know, they were not allowed to under DOJ rules in a federal case while he was president.
Oh, and then he was not president, and they still hadn't brought cases against Donald Trump.
This is true.
That is correct. That is correct. They still hadn't brought cases against him as far as when it comes to campaign finance. The federal government, even FEC, has not done it yet. Let's keep going.
Thank you. This is true.
Thank you.
Now you asked about whether this would become a crime or not. And again, the authorities will determine that. But if you're making the defense, I'm trying to understand what the defense actually is, because here's how it was put by the feds. Cohen, with the assistance of Corporation One, arranged for the purchase of those stories to suppress them and prevent them from influencing the election. The new reporting is, and I want to get the benefit of your response, prosecutors could argue that $130,000 became a donation to Trump's campaign under the theory that the money was silencing Daniels, benefiting his candidacy. So two-part question.
Donation. Okay.
Why lie about this and why misidentify the payment if it was legal? And second, your response to that theory of the case.
A donation to his campaign by himself. Okay? That's
Ooh.
what it would be. This is very...
That is key. A donation to his campaign by itself. I know from a state standpoint, because I ran for public office, and from a state standpoint, you can actually invest as much money as you want into your own campaign. Federally, I don't know, but his attorney may go into this. Here we go.
Very different. Look, John Edwards, remember that case where a third party paid for John Edwards' mistress who was pregnant with his baby and all that stuff. That was a third party. That was a donor. Okay. He was acquitted, and the DOJ dropped all charges on the hung counts on that. This is different. This is Donald Trump paying with his own money. And here's the bright line test, and here's where this case falls miserably. And by the way, yes, I'm his lawyer, so you would expect that from me, Ari. But what you have here is legal scholars, former members of the Federal Election Committee have publicly stated there was no crime here, no campaign law violation. Because here's the deal. First of all, there's a crucial distinction between separating campaign funds from personal funds, right? And on personal fund usage, here's the bright line test, and it ends this case. It ends any case regarding Stormy Daniels. If the spending or the fulfillment of a commitment or the expenditure would exist irrespective of the campaign, it's not a campaign law violation. End of story. This would exist.
Irrespective, what he's talking about there is that if this is a transaction that would happen, even if President Trump was not running for a campaign, it's just fine. In other words, this is done all the time. These type of settlements are done all the time. Interesting point there by his attorney.
Would exist irrespective of the campaign.
You're making a potential defense that he would have paid this out regardless.
It's not only would I say that his lawyer at the time, who pled guilty to all sorts of lies and frauds, who's now a cooperator, said that under oath. He said
Under
that under
oath.
Can you point to other payments that Trump made like this outside of a campaign?
Good question, Ari.
during the time of the campaign.
Outside of that campaign year,
Good question.
in his other many years on planet Earth, has he ever made a payment like
How would
this?
I have no idea, Hari. I have no idea. But Donald Trump is a litigious individual who gets sued by a lot of people, okay?
He is.
Commences lawsuits, and all the time things are settled. I've represented hundreds of people in similar situations where they make payments for what's called a nuisance settlement. Look, $125,000 to me is not, to you it's nothing, but to me it would be important. But to Donald Trump, it's what's called a nuisance settlement, okay? And when you do that, it's to make a problem, an embarrassing problem, go away. It doesn't mean it's real, because he vehemently denies an affair, so it doesn't mean it's real or not. It means you're settling something to not have to deal with the aggravation of it.
It sounds like a lot of money to me.
That's correct.
And
he's right.
We've never, done that much together, but if you were at the early bird special with me, you'd know I like to keep things as cost effective as possible.
That's why you have that big bank account.
But I'll ask you this. If all of what you say is true,
It is.
Okay.
then why was Trump hiding it and lying about it at the time? And I'll play that for your response. He lied about it. We all know that. Take a look. Take a look.
Let's see.
Okay.
President, did you know about the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels? Then why did Michael Cohen make this if there was no truth or allegation?
You have to ask Michael Cohen. Michael's my attorney, and you'll have to ask Michael.
Ari,
Interesting.
That's what you're going to consider a lie. A lie to me is something.
Well, that was a good video by Ari. Let's see what he says.
Material under oath in a proceeding.
Well, I didn't say perjury. I said a lie.
Yeah, but that's not a lie. That's
not a lie?
Here's why it's not a lie.
That's not a lie?
Here's why it's not a lie.
Did you know about this?
Did you? Paper down. Let me answer.
Did you know about this? No, I don't.
No, we don't need that. Here's why it's not a lie.
Yeah.
Because it was a confidential settlement. So if he acknowledged that, he would be violating the confidential settlement. So is it the truth? Of course it's not the truth. Was he supposed to tell the truth? He would be in violation of the agreement if he told the truth. So by him doing that, he was abiding by not only his rights, but Stormy Daniels' rights.
It seems like...
So, Ari is correct that Trump did lie, because it was a lie. And Trump's attorney is correct that if he would have told the truth, which to me, this contracts, he would have violated the contract because it was a confidentiality agreement. Both of them are right. But that's, boy, I tell you, contracts is something. Keep going.
Seems like we're drawing some blood here because you're having a strong reaction. He did lie about it, and in a confidential settlement, you can easily say no comment or I'm not getting into it.
Ari's right.
The reason why I look at this, he says no, I didn't know about it, but he did know about it, didn't he?
But here's
Ari's
the thing.
right.
I don't know the timing of that video. I really don't, and I'm not trying to play games with you.
April 28th.
Yeah, but I don't know the timing of that video in relation to the timing of the other video where he was speaking to Michael Cohen. What was the date of that other video? Do you know?
Yeah, we have the Cohen recording. This was around the 2016 campaign pre-November. So that was 2018 later. The original conversations were in the fall of 2016. Yes, sir.
So obviously he knew about it, but what he decided to do was not violate the confidentiality clause and provision of that agreement, which was the right thing to do. So yeah, he could have said no comment, or he could have said, I don't know anything about it, which is what he did. But that's the right. I would advise my client to do the same thing. He's speaking to some, whether it's a journalist or some young lady on the street.
September 2016 is the exact date.
But whether he's speaking to a journalist or some young lady on the street who's shouting out a question, that is not the forum for him to go into detailed questions about a confident.
I got to be critical of Trump right here and his attorney. Ari is right. Trump could have said, no comment, speak to my attorneys. He didn't have to lie like that. He didn't have to lie because it was a lie. I understand what Trump's attorney is saying, but Trump could have easily said, no comment, talk to my attorney. That's called discipline. Here we go. No problem. Let's keep going.
Confidential settlement agreement.
So let me tell you what I'm hearing, because again, people deserve to know all sides of this as we go into what may be an unprecedented indictment of a former president or not. We don't know. We don't know. It sounds tonight like what you're saying. I appreciate you coming here and taking the questions. Not everyone does that. It sounds like you're saying you have a legal attack on the potential campaign finance violation, and you think you have precedent that helps you. For example, the federal Edwards case, which Jack Smith oversaw and lost.
Correct.
To make the point that you don't believe that is a tight, open and shut finance felony. That's number one. And number two, on the misdemeanor case, which is more legally minor, but is not zero, and you and I can point to individuals.
He is right. There's no misdemeanor case. The Trump's attorney is correct. There's no case, no misdemeanor case at all.
Individuals who've had trouble with misdemeanors. It seems that you're saying, well, yeah, you know, he lied. He lied. It wasn't really legal services. Stormy's not a lawyer.
I didn't
what
say
did you
that.
say?
I said his lawyer advised him to pay him his legal services.
And that money went to Ms. Daniels.
But the money went to Ms. Daniels before that. He was
That's
reimbursing
correct.
his lawyer. His lawyer sent him an invoice for legal services. That's the evidence in this case. So he didn't lie. He relied on
it sounds like you're saying, one, not a campaign finance crime, and two, well, the misdemeanor, sure, maybe he lied about it, but you don't want to deal with the misdemeanor.
No.
You're kind of admitting.
See, what Ari's doing, he's convoluting things. What he's saying is because Trump said what he said on the plane, that statement, which is a lie, was him as a misdemeanor. That's actually not the case. Not at all, period. There is no misdemeanor case at the moment right now. None at all, period. And Trump's attorney is correct when he says that Michael Cohen actually paid Stormy Daniels out of his own pocket. And then because of the counsel that Michael Cohen gave to his client, which was President Trump, what happened is Trump paid him that money, which is legal fees. That is actually correct. That's correct from a booking standpoint. That's actually correct. Here we go.
Part of the misdemeanor.
No, I am. Ari, please don't put those words in my mouth. I am not admitting. He's not guilty.
But they weren't
of any
legal
crime.
Services.
His lawyer classified them as legal services. His lawyer sent him an invoice for legal services.
Yes.
His lawyer told him they would be properly classified as legal services. He relied on his lawyer. But here's the thing.
He's right. If you are billed from an attorney and you pay that bill, that is legal services. That's the correct bookkeeping practice. Ask any accountant, they'll tell you that.
Even if you put in your checkbook, or I'll use me as an example. I put in my checkbook, I bought a car and I wrote, I purchased a horse. That's inaccurate. That's a lie, maybe. But there's no crime there because this filing was not for the purpose of influencing an election. There wasn't something being hidden. There was no obligation to disclose this to an election campaign committee at all.
Good.
Well, I suppose the question then becomes,
Good.
did any company owned by Donald Trump or controlled by him or Donald Trump personally tell the government this was legal services?
I'll tell you why.
'Cause that would be false.
Right. The government being the United States government, the answer is absolutely none. Here's the thing.
Good point.
So can you substantiate that?
3 years. First of all, I don't need to substantiate anything. They need to substantiate a charge.
That's
right?
correct. He's right.
But I'm
in
telling
criminal
you,
court of law, that's true.
He's right.
They have the
He's
burden.
attorney is
Well,
right.
He's not charged
We're
yet.
not talking about traffic court.
He's
not
right.
charged yet, but I don't need to.
But you sound like someone who's bracing for a charge.
Only because I'm listening to this stuff. I still hold out hope that they're not going to do this because I think this will be an enormous stain on the legacy of that district attorney. Look, for the last 3 years, they have scoured every record of Donald Trump. They actually, this Pomerantz in his book wrote.
I'll give you one more. I'll get to Pomerantz.
He wrote in his book.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
So we're going to close this out on the facts, as I
go.
said, and then we'll turn to what I think you've raised, which are fair questions that the DA should face. Before we turn to that, your colleague went in and made a case to the DA. Can you tell us anything about that? A case against indictment.
First of all, the point person on this case has been Susan Nicholas.
Yep.
Who's one of the top lawyers in the city. I worked with Susan. We've known each other for many, many years.
This is
She's
good
been
exchange.
interacting with them, number one. Number two, this has not been a tell us what you think and we'll tell you what we think sort of relationship, okay? We are shocked that this has gotten this far, especially after Pomerantz's grand jury secrecy laws
We'll get to that, but do you think she was able to make any headway with them? Was she able, for example, you're telling me, hey, here's my response to misdemeanor, and it's not really a strong campaign finance case.
Yeah.
Did she say stuff like that?
She made all the arguments that we needed to make. I'll tell you that. Whether they were listening or not, look, to me, if they're pursuing this matter, it's weaponizing the justice system to keep this guy out of office. Donald Trump is going to win the election. And if they bring this case, I believe this will catapult him into the White House. I believe it. Because this will show how they are weaponizing the justice system. They're taking the vote out of the voters' hands.
But Joe, that's not really relevant, is it?
Oh, it's certainly relevant. What's not relevant to what? Relevant to what?
To his innocence. Either he's innocent or not.
No, it's not relevant to his innocence. He's innocent. And if they bring this case because he's innocent, this will catapult him to the White House.
Okay.
So this is what they're doing. You're seeing a dichotomy. You're seeing Trump's attorney saying this is political. Ari Fleischer of MSNBC is saying this is legal. and you're seeing a pretty good exchange here, guys. All right. So again, the question is that we did up front: is this political or is it a legal issue? Okay. Okay. So you've seen a little bit of this exchange right there. All right, guys. Let's keep going. We almost done.
Rephrase that.
Appreciate it. So I appreciate you taking the questions. We've had a back and forth. That's all about your client's potential legal exposure.
Yes.
There's another piece to this story, and that is the conduct of the New York DA's office. You have a lengthy letter here. We've been waving papers around.
You can wave this one around all you want.
And you say a legal theory wouldn't pan out. The New York DA simply pivoted to a new theory because it was determined to identify an alleged crime. Pomerantz, you mentioned this former prosecutor who was detailed there, and his colleagues kept trying to bring back the case from the dead. Now, this also is important. Whether people agree or disagree with your representation of Donald Trump, you're here. You're definitely a newsworthy person right now. Let's listen to some of what we heard from Mr. Pomerantz after he left the office and did his book tour. Sure.
Okay, here we go.
When you describe your reasoning and the debates between you and your team about the hush money thing, are you giving a potential lifeline to Donald Trump's defense lawyers?
I don't think we've given the defense any kind of leg up. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors in the DA's office, and I don't know what evidence is being presented. I don't know whether charges will be brought.
Okay.
The evidence is there. It may not be as sweeping an offense or an offense that involves so much money as the financial statement case, but it's still serious misconduct. I hope that case is brought.
For the
So he's saying that there's evidence there to indict. We're going to examine that. Here we go.
benefit of the public record, what is it that you allege that is improper about either Mr. Pomerantz or the function of the DA that is provable that you think should be on the record?
I have an agreement that he signed when he left his Paul Weiss, which is Clinton-affiliated law firm, by the way, as an aside. When he left Paul Weiss to join,
opinion, but go ahead.
It's not my opinion; it's a fact. They raised money for the Clintons, but it's whatever it is. He went to the district attorney's office as a prosecutor.
Okay.
You know, in his great book, he told his wife that not only did they not pay him, he would have paid to prosecute Donald Trump. Think about that. Let that roll around your head for a second. Prosecutors are supposed to be blind when it comes to dishing out justice. He would have paid to prosecute Trump, he said. Then he goes in there looking for a crime to fit the person. It's not supposed to be that way in our system. It's the other way around. Then he he signs a document, and in that document it says, if you reveal grand jury information, which is any information according to this document that you get during this investigation. He wasn't there as a pedestrian. He was there as a prosecutor assigned with fiduciary obligations and confidentiality agreements. And if you reveal this to a third party, it's a felony under New York state law.
Okay.
Well, be damned. He just decided he was going to write a book. I believe his license will be taken from him. And I believe Alan Bragg is going to look for criminal charges. That's what I believe. That's what I've heard, but we'll see what happens there.
Now that they get into an opinion-based type of thing, I don't want to go through that at all, guys. So you see both Ari Fleischer of MSNBC and Trump's current attorney in the New York case, right? Trump's attorney is making the argument that this is political, and Ari Fleischer of NBC is saying that it is legal. They both made some good points, which is great. It was a good choppy exchange there, which is great. All right, guys. So answer that question right now. Is it political or is it legal? This whole situation. All right. Now, guys, let's go to another person real fast. This person's name is Alan Dershowitz. He's a liberal. He's a Democrat. He votes Democrat all the time. He voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. He voted for President Biden in 2020 as well. He wants to vote against Trump again in 2024 if he wins the nomination. He has a different mentality concerning what's going on with this whole situation. And so let's see what he actually had to say, all right, concerning what's going on in this case. This is Alan Dershowitz, all right? He's a well-known attorney. Here we go.
Mr. Alan Dershowitz, how are you, sir?
I am doing great. I wish the country were doing great. I think that the impending prosecution of Donald Trump will destroy the rule of law in America, which is why I wrote my book, Get Trump.
Wow. So up front, Alan Dershowitz is saying that if this indictment happens and Trump is convicted, It will destroy the rule of law in America. This is a liberal saying this, okay, who wants to vote against him. Let's keep going. Against him meaning Donald Trump. Here we go.
Because that's what they're doing. They're focusing on a person rather than a crime. You know, the Torah, the Bible, gives prosecutors and judges two instructions. One, don't take bribes. That's obvious.
Yeah.
The other is lo takir panim, do not recognize faces. Do not do justice based on who the person is.
Wow.
That's a prohibition in the Bible. It's a prohibition in the Constitution.
Wow.
It's a prohibition in the Bill of Rights. It's a prohibition into the rule of law. And yet the District Attorney of Manhattan, ignoring previous district attorneys, ignoring the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Justice Department, is going after Bragg on a made-up crime, a crime that doesn't exist. It's part of Get Trump. And if you want,
so Allen is saying that this alleged crime that the New York District Attorney is actually trying to charge President Trump with does not exist. Let's see how he unpacks that. Here we go.
Want to protest Get Trump? Get my book, Get Trump. That'll send a message that we don't approve of that.
I tell you, I don't think people are going to go out in the streets and protest en masse, which a few years ago it would have happened. But I don't think they're going to do it this time because we know this federal government, this Justice Department, does not protect the lawful gathering of American citizens to speak their voice. We also are concerned about, is that an FBI guy who is trying to get the crowd, all whipped up into a frenzy?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't believe our rights are protected as an average citizen anymore. That's a frightening place to be in America.
And it's not only the Justice Department, it's the New York City DA's office, the New York City Attorney General's office.
Wow.
The Attorney General of New York ran on the campaign of Get Trump. That's where I got the title of my book from. Her campaign, Get Trump.
He's
she
correct.
promised to get Trump no matter what. Constitution be damned, Bill of Rights be damned, the rule of law be damned, get Trump. That's the most important thing. We have to stop him from running. Of course, the irony is even if they indict him and convict him, he can still run. The Constitution provides for only, a handful of bases for running. You have to be 35. You have to not have fought in the Civil War against the North. And you have to have been born in America. And he satisfies all of those criteria.
Yeah. Okay.
So he can still run. And this may backfire on Democrats who are abusing the law to get Trump. And I hope
so. A liberal is actually saying that the Democrats are abusing the law to get Trump. Democrats meaning the district attorney in New York. They're abusing the law just to get Trump. Interesting. So this liberal is actually siding with Trump's attorney. Okay.
I hope it does. And I hope that maybe the district attorney will listen to reason and not indict him, although Trump has said that he's likely to be indicted tomorrow. Justice Jackson once said that any prosecutor can rummage through the hundreds of statutes we have and try to find something against anybody, not just Trump, not just Hillary Clinton, but you and me and your Uncle Charlie and your grandson. They can find something. And if this prosecution is allowed to go forward and culminate in a conviction, it will mean that they will start making crimes up against the average person who they don't like.
Can you take us through this?
He's actually correct. If this is done from a legality standpoint, if what he's saying is correct, because he's saying that the law doesn't exist on the books that they're trying to pin on President Trump, this will set a precedent. It will. A bad precedent. It will.
At all, Alan, where because people will say, okay, I don't think you should be paying hush money. But is that illegal? How are they? What charges are they going after? Has this ever been done before? Take us through this.
Good question.
Sure. It's never been done before, number one. So they're charging him with a misdemeanor. Misdemeanor has a 2-year statute of limitations. This happened 6 years ago.
Wow.
They're trying to turn the misdemeanor into a felony by saying that the reason he paid, quote, hush money, it wasn't hush money, he settled the case like so many other people do.
Correct.
But the reason he settled the case was to help his campaign rather than to avoid embarrassment with his wife and his family, his children, etc. They're not going to be able to prove that. But as the former chief judge of the New York Court of Appeals once said, a prosecutor can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich. And in New York, you can probably get a petty jury to convict a ham sandwich as long as his name is Trump. And so there is a possibility that he'll get indicted and get convicted. I think it will be reversed on appeal because the law doesn't permit targeting of individuals and making up crimes. This is a...
Now, listen to what you said. He said the law does not prevent individuals from targeting individuals and making up crimes. He's actually spot on. He's right.
That's crime. So they say that he paid the hush money in order to help his campaign, and therefore the payment was a campaign contribution. It's never been done before. They tried it once before on candidate Edwards, and it was a much, much stronger case.
Right.
And, of course, they lost in front of a jury. But it's never been tried since, and that was a federal crime. This is a state crime. And it's a shame that a district attorney would abuse justice so greatly, and it endangers justice for all of us.
So, Alan.
And Professor Dershowitz keeps going on and on about it as well, guys. So that is a stark difference of what he was saying. He's saying he's actually siding, the liberal attorney is siding with the conservative or the conservative attorney, President Trump's attorney, concerning what's going on in the district attorney in New York. He's saying that what the district attorney of New York is doing is not even a law. It's basically illegal. He can't really do it at all. But the law does not hinder a prosecution targeting someone or inventing crimes. That's a shame. But the liberal is siding with Trump's attorney. Interesting. So now, guys, what happens is this here. So new information came out this week as well, which has caused some things to actually change. Is this here? Is Michael Cohen's attorney actually came out, and he said, hey, he began seeing what was going on with what Michael Cohen was doing, because Michael Cohen actually went in front of the grand jury, I believe 19 times. 19 times. They interviewed him 19 times. So what happened was his attorney went on Tucker Carlson, right? And what happened is he actually relayed some interesting facts concerning what was going on there. All right, guys? So let's see exactly what he had to say. This is Michael Cohen's attorney. Okay, his attorney. Let's see what he has to say.
Robert Costello was legal advisor to former Trump attorney Michael Cohen, who made the payment to Stormy Daniels. He joins us tonight. Mr. Costello, thank you so much for coming on. So we as noted, we can't know whether there'll be an indictment or what's in it. But from the leaks that you have read in, say, the New York Times, how do you assess this case?
Weak, to say the least.
Wow.
I just spent 2 hours or so testifying before the grand jury in downtown Manhattan.
So he went in front of the same grand jury that Michael Cohen went in front of 19 times. Okay.
And I got my point across, although it was clear to me that the Manhattan DA's office did not want to get to the truth.
Wow. That is a stunning fact. This is Michael Cohen's attorney. Let's keep going.
I need to explain that a little bit. I called them up after I saw Michael Cohen on TV stating things that he said he was going to tell the grand jury and had told the grand jury that were contrary to what he told us when we first represented him in April of 2018.
So he's saying what Michael Cohen was communicating was different than what he communicated to them when they were representing Michael Cohen. Interesting.
So I'm sitting at home watching these lies, and I said, I've got to do something about it. I don't represent Donald Trump, but I do stand for justice, and I think I have a legal obligation to inform both sides. So that's what I did. I had a ton of documents that I had prepared back in 2019 for the Department of Justice. The U.S. Attorney's Office called me up and said, Mr. Costello, we would like to talk to you about your representation of Michael Cohen. I laughed and said, can I presume you have a waiver of the attorney-client privilege? And they said, you presume correctly. I said, fine, send it over. I'll be delighted to talk to you.
Okay.
That waiver is very clear. And once we had that, I prepared 330 emails, a bunch of text messages.
Wow.
I prepared a contemporaneous report of our first meeting with Michael Cohen at the Regency Hotel in Manhattan, as well as a contemporaneous notes of the interview I had for 2 hours with the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York, as well as contemporaneous notes of an interview by the House Committee on Intelligence, who sent 3 investigators to my office, one of whom is now Dan Goldman, a congressman here in New York.
Wow.
So I had all of this material ready. I sent it to Donald Trump's lawyer, and I sent it to the Manhattan DA's office.
So both Trump and the DA got it. Okay, fair. Okay, fair.
And I contacted the Manhattan DA's office, and I asked, could we meet with Alvin Bragg? Because I wanted to present this to Alvin Bragg as I had presented it to the Southern District. I wanted him to look me in the eye and assess my credibility.
Okay.
Did I have more credibility than Michael Cohen? Because Michael Cohen, in my opinion, was lying about just about everything.
Wow.
I specifically told them that there were 2 main points that I wanted to make clear. That Cohen had told us that when we first met him, that he was suicidal. Why is that important? Because when you're suicidal, thinking that that's the only way out of your legal mess, and you're presented with the following options, that you can cooperate against Donald Trump and provide information that would get you a get-out-of-jail-free card, and you respond to us, I do not have any information on Donald Trump. And he said it many times during that 2-hour meeting. I swear to God, Bob, I don't have anything on Donald Trump. And I had my law partner who knew Michael Cohen for 10 years on Columbia Grammar and Prep School here in Manhattan because Cohen was on the board of directors. And when I heard him say that he was suicidal the weekend before, standing on the roof of the Regency Hotel, I didn't know whether he was a drama queen or telling the truth. So I looked at my partner, and he shook his head and nodded, I think he's telling the truth. And later on, we got that corroborated by the Reverend Jerry Falwell and his wife, who had dinner with Michael Cohen, who told him the same thing. Why is that important? Because when you're willing to give up your life in order to avoid these legal troubles, when they're insurmountable to you, and you're offered a way out, so all you have to do is cooperate on Donald Trump. Do you have anything on Donald Trump? And he says no repeatedly. I swear to God, Bob, I don't have anything. Then you know that you've got a guy who probably doesn't have anything. It's certainly easier to give up information on Donald Trump than it is to kill yourself. On top of that, while he's making these speeches during 2-hour period, he's marching up and down on the other side of the conference table like a tiger in the zoo, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. He looked like he hadn't slept in 5 days. He looked like somebody who was suicidal. And every once in a while, he would stop and point at us. And when I say once in a while, he did this at least 20 times. And said, guys, I want you to know, I will do whatever the F I have to do. I will never spend 1 day in jail. Now, what he's saying is, I'll lie, cheat, steal, shoot somebody. I will not spend a day in jail. Do you think a guy whose mentality is that is going to not admit that he has information on Donald Trump? But having said that, the DA's office didn't ask me questions to bring that up. And
really?
I brought it up anyway. I didn't. I ignored their questions and simply gave them the information. I'm hearing rap in my ear, left and right. I'll continue if you want, but
well, let me just ask you one final question, if it's okay, Mr. Caselli.
Sure.
If you were the DA, if you were a prosecutor and you were trying to be fair and honest and serve the law rather than a political agenda, you'd want to know that, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. And I told them and told the grand jury today, I was deputy chief of the criminal division of the U.S. Attorneys for the Southern District. I said I wouldn't touch a witness like Michael Cohen for any amount of money. You simply cannot rely upon this guy. And tonight, he was on another station denying that he waived the attorney-client privilege. Here it is, in writing, and that's his signature on the second page. So I guess he didn't know that, and the district attorney didn't know that. And I told them, Michael Cohen has been in your office 20 times and twice in the grand jury, and he forgot to tell you that he waived the attorney-client privilege 22 times? I mean, really, is this the kind of witness you want to ride to the finish line? Not in my book.
Wow. Yes, that is Michael Cohen's former attorney. That is some strong testimony there. And he volunteered that testimony to the district attorney. And he sent documentations to both, the same documentation over to the district attorney and to the Trump team. and he volunteered this, and he volunteered to go in front of the grand jury under oath, which that shows some type of integrity there, right? But then what tripped me out is he understood. He began to say that the district attorney didn't want to ask the questions, right? He said that the DA did not want to get to the truth because he was asking the type of questions to get all the information. So he voluntarily told that information. Interesting. This is Michael Cohen's former attorney. So, guys, again, I got to ask that question. In your opinion, is it political or is this a legal matter? Okay, what do you think is really going on? Is it a political game or a legal game? Okay, all right, guys. But lastly, guys, we actually had a letter from Michael Cohen's attorney. Okay, another one of his attorneys, right? All right, let's see what actually happened. This actually just came out, guys. All right, let's see what actually happened. And this changed a lot of things. Let's see what's going on here real fast. Here we go. Let's see it. Let's play it.
Radio show. Joe, remember we brought this up the other day. I said to you folks, it is, Joe heard it. I said it is not a guarantee that he is going to be indicted. I said this case is so bad. Now, again, this isn't some Stygian witches moment where I was like, give me the eye and I can predict the future. I've just sat on grand juries. And eventually you have to produce some amount of evidence. The problem is it's leading to a lot of kind of misinformation from the left, but some confusion on our side too from people who are having some trouble with the process, which I understand. I mean, if you've never sat at a grand jury or been a lawyer or law enforcement officer, why would you, it's not your thing. You're an engineer, a pilot, you do your thing. I don't know anything about piloting a plane. Here's where the confusion's starting on our side. So the confusion on the left is they thought this thing was lock, stock, and two smoking barrels. Like Trump's finished. Grand jury, New York, liberal New York City's done. He's totally done. Well, maybe indicted. He may be.
He may be.
But that doesn't seem to be the case right now.
Interesting.
Sent the grand jury home. But on our side, there's been some confusion too.
Okay.
There is a letter that emerged from the FCC to Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen. Just quickly, the essence of the charge is this. The allegation is that Donald Trump marshaled this deal to pay off this porn star, Stormy Daniels, to not talk about the thing they had, the liaison, let's say.
Well,
is that a crime? No. What Alvin Bragg is alleging is that Trump lied about the payment, that his lawyer, Michael Cohen, paid Stormy Daniels, which he did, but that Trump reimbursed him for legal expenses, which were really hush money expenses. You get it? And the Bragg allegation is it's a felony because it was effectively a campaign donation.
Okay.
Campaign donation. How the hell's that? Exactly. That's the point. Bragg's saying, well, he was trying to further his political campaign by silencing someone who would make him look bad. Folks, it's the dumbest definition of a campaign donation I've ever seen. Hence, why the grand jury is having a real problem right now with a true bill. The problem on our side is a letter emerged yesterday. You can see it here.
Here's the letter.
It's an FCC letter
Let's
from
see
Michael
what actually
Cohen
happened.
to the FCC.
Okay.
Now, Cohen and Bragg are alleging that there was a payoff from Trump to Cohen, you following the gravy train here, to reimburse the porn star to shut up in this NDA deal. Well, here's the problem.
Okay.
As you can see from this letter from Michael Cohen's lawyer that emerged yesterday.
Okay.
He says, quote, Cohen's lawyer said in this letter to the FCC a while ago that neither the Trump organization nor the Trump campaign was a party to the transaction with Miss Clifford. I think Stephanie Clifford's her name. Stormy Daniels, obviously her screen name, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
And neither reimbursed Mr. Cohen for the payment directly or indirectly.
Oh, wow. Wow.
If there was ever a time.
Wow. That right there. Let's read that again. That right there, guys. Let's see that again.
Or the Trump campaign
Hold on, let's go back.
to reimburse the porn star to shut up in this NDA deal.
Here we go.
Well, here's the problem. As you can see from this letter from Michael Cohen's lawyer that emerged yesterday.
Okay.
He says, quote, Cohen's lawyer said in this letter to the FCC a while ago that neither the Trump organization nor the Trump campaign was a party to the transaction with Miss Clifford. I think Stephanie Clifford's her name. Stormy Daniels, obviously her screen name, if you know what I mean. And neither reimbursed Mr. Cohen for the payment directly or indirectly.
Guys, this is a letter from Michael Cohen's attorney to the FEC on February the 8th, 2018. Right? That says February 28th. I'm sorry, February the 8th, 2018. That's what that says. Right? So if that's the case, this thing is dead. Because you have evidence. Evidence is there. It's right there. This thing is dead. So if that's the case, this is no longer legal. It is political now. So if that's the case, it's what Alan Dershowitz was saying was actually correct. What Trump's attorney was saying was actually correct. And what Dan Bongino is saying is actually correct because of this letter, right? So here's my reaction to all of this, guys. I'm going to answer the question. Is this political or legal? It's all political. How do I know that? It's real simple. Both sides are raising money on this issue. The Democrats are raising money on this issue, as well as the Trump organization is too, right? And you better believe the Republicans are as well also. They're both raising money on this issue. Both of them is. And also, guys, in my opinion, this is a big distraction. Distraction from what? Inflation, right? We have an inflation problem right now. We have a banking problem right now, right? We have a border problem right now. We have an energy problem right now. We have a Russia and China problem right now. This is a big distraction from real problems, right? From real problems that both sides are capitalizing on. Remember the adage, don't let a crisis go to waste. They're both raising money on this issue. Both sides is. This is all political. Real simple. Not hard to understand. Real simple. All right, guys. So what is your counter move, guys? I always say it, guys. You know my adage. Peep it, sweep it, and keep it. Real simple. What's the first thing? First thing is always examine your current situation. That's the peep it side, right? Again, we're about solutions here. Are you policy results driven or are you politically driven? Which one are you? Let me ask the question again. Are you policy results driven or politically driven? That answer is going to let me know what you're going to do next. Okay? You got to answer that question. Number two, guys, you got to invite in wise counsel, right? I would say the wiser thing, guys, is to be policy results driven, not politically driven, because the politics got us in this mess in the first place, right? So be policy results driven, all right? Invite in that wise counsel, sweep it. Examine the current policies in your city, county, state, and nation, and ask yourself this question. Are these policies assisting in making your life better? You got to answer that question. If the answer is yes, keep voting the same. If the answer is no, you got to make some different changes. All right, some different decisions. All right. Are these policies assisting you in making your life better? You got to answer that question. And then lastly, guys, continue to push toward the mark of excellence. Keep that thing. Keep it. All right. If the policies, if your answer to that question is the policies are not making my life better, right? You got to vote for the candidates that assist in making your life better. Notice what I said, that assist, not that make, because you make the final decision, not a politician. If your solution begins in the political circle, you've already lost the battle. It's done. You're done for, right? Again, vote for the candidates, whether it be a city candidate, a county candidate, a state candidate, or a federal candidate that assist, whose policies assist in making your life better. Okay? Again, be policies, results driven, right? Be policies, results driven. The key word is on results, not just a policy. We want to know what are the effects of the policies. Therefore, the results of these policies. It's very simple, guys. Well, guys, give me your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think about it, man. I hope this was valuable, eventful, guys. I wanted to kind of look at the situation because it was all over the news. It was a big distractions, guys. Stay focused on the policies. Stay focused on solving problems. Stay focused on prescribing solutions, guys. Well, guys, thank you so much for your time. God bless you. And you know, I end it every time, guys, before you leave and while you can. You see that thing, because I always look better than you. Don't get mad at me. Talk to Jesus about it. Take that damn picture and give it to your mama now and holla at your partner.
Long live the king.